What happens when a late-night host crosses the line and pushes a Hollywood star past his breaking point? Well, that's exactly what went down when Mark Wahlberg sat across from Stephen Colbert for what was supposed to be a routine interview promoting his latest film. What started as typical celebrity banter quickly spiraled into one of the most uncomfortable and explosive moments in late-night television history. Colbert seemed determined to dig into territory that Wahlberg clearly wanted to avoid, and when the host refused to back down, the Boston native finally had enough and let loose in a way that left everyone stunned. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below letting me know what you think about how this whole situation unfolded. So Mark, great to have you back on the show, Colbert said with his trademark grin. How's the family doing? They're doing fantastic, Stephen. Thanks for asking. The kids are growing up so fast, you know how it is. I do indeed. Now, your new film looks incredible. Action-packed, lots of explosions, very you. But I have to ask about something else that's been on my mind lately. Wahlberg's smile faltered slightly. What's that? Well, you've built this incredibly successful career, this wholesome family man image. But I think we need to talk about your past. Specifically, your criminal past. Stephen, I've been very open about my past mistakes. I was young, I made bad choices, and I've spent my entire adult life trying to make up for them. I thought we were here to talk about the movie. Come on, Mark. You can't just brush off assault charges with "I was young." We're talking about real victims here, real people who were hurt. Don't you think your fans deserve to know the full story about who they're supporting? I've addressed this publicly multiple times. I've apologized, I've made amends where possible, and I've dedicated my life to being a better person. That's all I'm going to say about it. But is it really enough? I mean, you've made hundreds of millions of dollars. You have this massive platform, and yet some of your victims are still dealing with the consequences of what you did to them. Doesn't that feel a little unfair to you? You know what, Stephen? I came here to promote my film and have a good time with your audience. I didn't come here to be ambushed about mistakes I made when I was 16 years old. But they weren't just mistakes, were they, Mark? We're talking about violent crimes. We're talking about hate crimes. And now you're sitting here, this beloved movie star, acting like people should just forget about it because you've apologized. Are you kidding me right now? Are you seriously going to sit there and lecture me about redemption and forgiveness while you make jokes for a living? You think because you wear a suit and have a desk that gives you the right to be my moral judge? I'm not judging you, Mark. I'm just asking the questions that I think people want answered. Isn't that what journalism is supposed to be about? Journalism? This isn't journalism, Stephen. This is a hit job disguised as entertainment. You invited me here under false pretenses, and now you're trying to destroy me on national television for what? Ratings? Look, I understand you're upset, but these are legitimate concerns. Your past actions hurt people, and I think it's fair to ask whether you've really done enough to make things right. Some people might say that your success feels like a reward for behavior that would land anyone else in prison for much longer. You know what your problem is, Stephen? You think because you have this platform, you can say whatever you want about people without consequences. You think you can hide behind your writers and your audience and just tear people down for entertainment. I'm not trying to tear you down. I'm trying to have an honest conversation about accountability and redemption in Hollywood. Honest conversation? There's nothing honest about this. You ambushed me with questions you knew would be painful and personal, and you're doing it in front of a live audience for maximum humiliation. That's not journalism, that's sadism. Mark, I think you're overreacting here. These are important questions that need to be asked. Overreacting? You want to see overreacting? You're sitting there smug and comfortable behind your desk, acting like some kind of moral authority, when the truth is, you're just another talk show host looking for a viral moment at someone else's expense. That's not fair. I have a responsibility to my audience to ask tough questions. Tough questions? You want tough questions, Stephen? Let me ask you one. How does it feel to make millions of dollars by pretending to be clever while you tear down people who are actually trying to do something positive with their lives? I don't tear people down, Mark. I hold them accountable. Accountable? To who? To you. Who made you the arbiter of justice? You're a comedian, Stephen. A comedian who's gotten too big for his britches and thinks he's some kind of investigative journalist. I think this conversation has gotten a little heated. Maybe we should take a breath here. Oh, now you want to take a breath? After you've spent the last 10 minutes trying to humiliate me on national television? You don't get to call time out now that things aren't going your way. I wasn't trying to humiliate you. I was trying to have a meaningful discussion about an important topic. Meaningful discussion? You call this meaningful? You're not interested in discussion, Stephen. You're interested in gotcha moments and cheap shots. That's all this is. Mark, I think you're being unfair to me and to this show. Unfair? You want to talk about unfair? What's unfair is inviting someone on your show under the pretense of promoting their work and then blindsiding them with personal attacks. What's unfair is using your position to try to destroy someone's reputation for entertainment value. Nobody's trying to destroy your reputation. Really? Then what would you call what just happened? You basically called me a criminal who doesn't deserve success. You questioned whether I've done enough to make amends for teenage mistakes. You insinuated that I'm somehow taking advantage of my victims by being successful. How is that not trying to destroy my reputation? Look, I'm not trying to destroy anything. I'm trying to understand how someone with your history becomes one of the most beloved figures in Hollywood. Don't you think that's a fair question? Fair question? Stephen, let me tell you what's fair. What's fair is giving someone the opportunity to grow and change. What's fair is acknowledging that people can learn from their mistakes and become better human beings. What you're doing isn't fair. It's vindictive. I'm not being vindictive. I'm being thorough. Thorough? You call this thorough? Have you done any research into what I've actually done to make amends? Have you looked into the charities I support? The community work I do? The kids I mentor? Or did you just Google my arrest record and decide that was enough research for your hit piece? Of course I know about your charitable work, but that doesn't erase what happened. Nobody's asking it to erase what happened, but it should count for something, shouldn't it? Or are you saying that once someone makes a mistake as a teenager, they're irredeemable for the rest of their lives? I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that success shouldn't be a shield against scrutiny. Success isn't a shield, Stephen. It's the result of hard work and trying to be a better person every single day. But what you're doing right now, this isn't scrutiny. This is character assassination disguised as journalism. That's a very dramatic way to put it. Dramatic? You want dramatic? Here's dramatic. You're sitting there acting like some kind of moral crusader. But what have you ever actually sacrificed to help anyone? When's the last time you put your money where your mouth is instead of just running your mouth for applause? I don't think my personal charitable giving is really the issue here. Oh, it's not? But my teenage mistakes from 30 years ago are? That's interesting logic, Stephen. You get to interrogate my entire life history, but your own actions are off limits? This interview isn't about me, Mark. Maybe it should be. Maybe instead of tearing down people who are actually trying to make a positive difference, you should look in the mirror and ask what you're contributing to the world besides cynicism and cheap shots. I think I contribute quite a bit, actually. I inform people, I make them laugh. I ask important questions that other people are afraid to ask. You ask important questions? Like what? Like trying to shame someone who's already acknowledged their mistakes and spent decades trying to make up for them? That's your idea of important journalism? It's important to hold public figures accountable. Accountable to what standard? Your standard? The standard of someone who's never had to fight for anything real in their life? You grew up with privilege, went to good schools, had opportunities handed to you. You have no idea what it's like to come from where I came from. That's not fair. You don't know anything about my background. I know enough. I know you've never had to make the kind of desperate choices that kids in rough neighborhoods have to make. I know you've never had to fight your way out of a situation where violence was the only language anyone understood. So forgive me if I don't take lectures about morality from someone who's never been tested. Everyone faces challenges, Mark. That doesn't excuse criminal behavior. I'm not excusing anything. I've never excused it. I've owned it. I've apologized for it. I've made amends, and I've spent my entire adult life trying to be better. But apparently, that's not enough for you. Apparently, you think I should spend the rest of my life apologizing and feeling guilty instead of actually doing something positive with the platform I've built. I don't think you should spend your life apologizing. I just think you should acknowledge that your victims deserve better than just apologies. What exactly do you think they deserve? Because I've tried to reach out. I've tried to make direct amends where possible. Some people don't want to hear from me, and I respect that. Some people have moved on with their lives. What more do you want me to do? Maybe use your platform to actually address the issues that created the environment where those crimes happened in the first place. Maybe do something meaningful about youth violence and hate crimes instead of just making action movies. Are you serious right now? Do you have any idea what I actually do with my platform? Do you know about the programs I fund in Boston, the kids I work with, the anti-violence initiatives I support? Or did you just assume I don't do anything meaningful because it fits your narrative better? I know you do charitable work, but I think you could do more. You think I could do more? Based on what? Based on your expert analysis of my life and career? Tell me, Stephen, what qualifies you to judge what's enough? What's your expertise in redemption and social justice? Making jokes about politicians? I don't claim to be an expert. I'm just asking questions. No, you're not just asking questions. You're making judgments. You're implying that I'm somehow inadequate or insincere in my efforts to make amends. You're suggesting that my success is somehow illegitimate because of mistakes I made as a teenager. That's not questioning, that's prosecuting. I think you're reading too much into this. Am I? Let me ask you something, Stephen. If someone you cared about made serious mistakes as a teenager, and then spent the next 30 years of their life trying to be a good person, trying to help others, trying to make the world a little better, would you still be bringing up those teenage mistakes to humiliate them in public? That's not what I'm doing. That's exactly what you're doing. You're using my past to score points with your audience. You're treating my redemption story like it's fake or insufficient, because it makes for better television. You're more interested in tearing me down than in understanding what real redemption looks like. I'm trying to understand how redemption works in Hollywood versus how it works for regular people. Regular people? You mean people who don't have cameras following them around? People who don't have to justify every mistake they've ever made to strangers on television? You think regular people have it harder when it comes to redemption? I think regular people don't get movie deals and magazine covers after committing violent crimes. And I think regular people don't have their teenage mistakes broadcast to millions of people decades later by sanctimonious talk show hosts who think they're doing God's work by tearing down anyone who's achieved success despite their past. Mark, I think you're being unfair to me and to the process here. I'm just trying to have an honest conversation. Honest? You want honest, Stephen? Here's honest. You're a bully hiding behind a desk in a live audience. You think because you have writers and producers and cameras that somehow makes you brave, but all you're really doing is picking on people for entertainment. That's completely unfair. I'm not picking on anyone. Really? Then explain to me how ambushing a guest with personal attacks qualifies as anything other than picking on them. Explain to me how this serves any purpose other than making yourself look tough at my expense. I'm not trying to look tough. I'm trying to ask the hard questions that need to be asked. The hard questions that need to be asked? According to who? According to you? You've appointed yourself as some kind of moral authority, but what gives you that right? What makes you think you're qualified to sit in judgment of other people's lives? I'm not sitting in judgment. I'm facilitating a discussion. Facilitating a discussion? Is that what you call it when you invite someone on your show under false pretenses and then spend the entire time attacking their character? That's your idea of facilitation? I think you're overreacting to legitimate questions about accountability. Legitimate questions. Stephen, let me ask you a legitimate question. How many times do I have to apologize before people like you are satisfied? How many years do I have to spend trying to make amends before sanctimonious hosts stop bringing up my teenage mistakes for ratings? I don't know if there's a specific number. Of course you don't know, because that's not what this is really about. This isn't about accountability or justice or helping victims. This is about you feeling superior to someone who's actually accomplished something with their life despite their past. That's not true at all. Isn't it? Tell me, Stephen, what's the real difference between us? We both make money by entertaining people. We both have platforms we can use to influence others. But somehow you think you're morally superior because you make jokes instead of action movies? I never said I was morally superior. You didn't have to say it. It's written all over your face. You're sitting there like you're some kind of beacon of virtue, questioning whether I deserve success, whether I've done enough to earn redemption. You're acting like a judge and jury But what qualifies you for that role? I'm qualified to ask questions as a journalist, and as someone who has a responsibility to his audience. Journalist? Stephen, you're a comedian who reads jokes off cue cards. Don't insult real journalists by comparing yourself to them. And your responsibility to your audience? Your responsibility is to entertain them, not to destroy people's reputations for their amusement. I'm not trying to destroy anyone's reputation. Then what would you call what you just did? You spent 20 minutes trying to convince your audience that I'm some kind of irredeemable criminal who doesn't deserve success. You questioned my sincerity, my efforts at redemption, even my charitable work. How is that not an attempt to destroy my reputation? I was trying to explore the complexities of redemption and accountability in the public eye. Explore the complexities? Are you kidding me? There's nothing complex about what you did. You took cheap shots at someone who was vulnerable and tried to make yourself look good in the process. That's not exploration, that's exploitation. I think you're being incredibly unfair to me right now. Unfair? You want to talk about unfair? What's unfair is using your platform to ambush people. What's unfair is pretending to be their friend and then stabbing them in the back on live television. What's unfair is thinking you can hide behind the pretense of journalism while you engage in character assassination. This is getting out of hand. Maybe we should take a commercial break. Oh, now you want a commercial break? After you've done your damage? After you've gotten your viral moment? Now you want to call time out? I think we both need to cool down. I don't need to cool down, Stephen. I need you to understand something. You crossed a line tonight. You went too far. You think because you're behind that desk and you have an audience cheering for you that you can say whatever you want without consequences, but you're wrong. I don't think I crossed any lines. I asked legitimate questions. Legitimate questions? You called me a criminal. You questioned whether I deserve success. You implied that I'm taking advantage of my victims by being successful. You suggested that everything I've done to make amends is somehow insufficient. How are those legitimate questions? I was trying to examine your journey from a troubled youth to a successful actor. No, you weren't. You were trying to tear me down for ratings. You were trying to create drama at my expense. You were using my past as entertainment for your audience. That's not what happened here. That's exactly what happened here. And you know what the worst part is? You're going to go home tonight thinking you did something noble. You're going to tell yourself that you held someone accountable, that you asked the tough questions, that you served the public interest. But the truth is, all you did was prove that you're just another talk show host who's willing to hurt people for applause. Mark, I think you should sit down and we can try to have a more constructive conversation. Constructive? There's nothing constructive about what you did tonight, Stephen. You turned what should have been a pleasant conversation about my new film into a character assassination. You ambushed me, you attacked my integrity, and you questioned my right to success. That's not constructive, that's destructive. I was trying to have a meaningful dialogue about important issues. Important issues? The only issue here is your need to feel important by tearing down other people. The only issue here is your arrogance in thinking you have the right to judge whether someone else's redemption is sufficient. I have every right to ask questions. You have the right to ask questions, but you don't have the right to attack people. You don't have the right to use your platform as a weapon. You don't have the right to destroy someone's reputation because you think it makes for good television. I wasn't trying to destroy your reputation. Then you failed spectacularly, because that's exactly what you tried to do. And you know what, Stephen? You went too far tonight. You crossed a line that you can't uncross. You showed your true colors, and they're not pretty. The tension in the studio was unbearable as Wahlberg stood there, his final words hanging in the air like a threat. Colbert, for perhaps the first time in his career, seemed genuinely speechless, realizing that his attempt at hard-hitting journalism had backfired spectacularly. What did you think of this explosive confrontation? Do you think Colbert went too far? Or was Wahlberg overreacting? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more incredible stories like this one.